Well, good morning and welcome back to the Real Estate Heavyweights podcast. We missed last week because Tavis was out and I had some backup folks, my family down in Austin, but then they were traveling and got busy doing stuff. But we're back. Welcome back, Tavis. How was your trip?
Man, that trip was epic. It was very, very cool. So,
Yep.
if you guys have
Guatemala.
never been, and it would have never been on the map without our good friend, Aaron Roberts.
Yep.
You guys have heard us talk about him before. He's our doctor friend that Ashton helped out a little over a year ago. And right at almost a year anniversary, I guess, of purchasing a property in Canyon Creek. And you guys have heard us talk about that project, luxury midterm rental going on in Canyon Creek, and ended up doing the design work for him, and then took on the project actually as the contractor GC. And we started that in July, and we are at the final touches as we speak right now. So pool actually got filled up. Pool's operating and running.
Really
that
good.
was one of our biggest headaches here the last couple of months, was trying to get the right contractor to finish that job for us for the right price. And but Aaron had actually invited us both, so I know Ashton's kicking himself that he didn't
I got a lot of
come
pictures.
along, but there will be an opportunity in the future. But nevertheless, we ended up in a place called Antigua, Guatemala, and I believe it was the original area that the Spanish settlers colonized prior to developing Guatemala City. And I believe they developed Guatemala City after it was either a volcano eruption or an earthquake, one of those two. So we were in a city surrounded by three volcanoes that are all active, basically. And so you kind of had triple threat. We were only 45 minutes from the beach, so you got hurricane, you've got volcano, and you've got an earthquake.
And there was an earthquake in the middle of the Caribbean yesterday, and there was a tsunami threat. So,
oh gosh,
I don't know
so I
how
saw
that
that pop up, but I didn't dig in. But nevertheless, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful town. Very old, all Spanish architecture, built. Started, I think, building things architecturally in the 1500s, and it was amazing. Very,
you got to see some Mayan ruins,
a lot of
too,
culture. Right? Some really old ruins, and a lot of Mayan culture. Tabitha was actually tall for the first time in her life.
Nice.
In several places we went, and she's 5 foot, so that's saying a lot. The Mayan people are little people, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
I might have run into that yesterday, not Mayans, but I was at Walmart yesterday checking out, and there was a group of people. I think they were from Greece or somewhere similar. There was 5 adults. They're probably 50 to 60 years old. Those are all adults, and several of them turned around and looked at me like I was kind of some sort of attraction at the Texas Fair. Like it was, and then like one of them nudged the other person and turned around and looked at me. And I had my boots on. I mean, I'm pretty tall, big guy. I don't know if they were disappointed in what I was like, like here's this fat American buying, packaged Doritos or whatever I had in there, or if it was like, man, I've never seen someone this tall. Like, I mean, I'm tall, but I'm not that tall. It was just weird. Like and I smiled, but I was so curious, like, what is it about me that they're like talking not in English to each other and kind of nudging each other, and it was an odd, it was an odd experience. But yes, I'm sure I would stick out a lot down there in Guatemala, and then my brother would legitimately, they would think he was a legitimate giant,
Yeah,
it looked a lot of fun. The pictures looked great. The wedding looked amazing, and happy for those guys.
You guys look it up, and the dollar goes a long way there. There's a lot of expats actually that live there. There's a lot of hostels.
Yeah, that's what you said.
So I think you can probably get a hostel for $10 US a night or less. I mean, it's got to be pretty affordable. The dollar went a long way. I mean, it's 7.5 times the US dollar.
Wow.
Or 7.5, whatever. US dollar is 7.5 times their dollar. And
You felt like you're getting a lot for your money.
you did, yeah, and it was definitely not Americanized at all. But you could navigate around. I mean, obviously dominant Spanish, but um, and it's funny because Tabitha Tabitha has a Hispanic heritage, but she's just like, nope, I don't speak it. I'm not going to try to speak it. I speak English. And so when they always go to her first because she looks Hispanic,
Mm-hmm.
and she talks to them back in English. And in most places we travel, that works because they're Americanized, right? You go to Mexico, we go to resorts in Mexico, whatever, and they'll flip pretty quick to English.
Yeah.
In a place like that, they don't know English. They don't know English. So there
Right.
was definitely several times where we're sitting at a restaurant or we're somewhere, and she would just talk English, and they were like talk back in Spanish, and so I would have to take it over, or I would have to translate for her. And of course, then they look at me and they're like surprised, and so they start talking to me. Um, but it was fun.
Yeah.
But
Looked awesome. Well, while you're out again, I didn't have as many projects. So the last time, whenever y'all went to the Caribbean, there was a lot more just day in and day out going on at Shady Hill, and then I was doing the initial demo over at Primrose. This one is a
yep,
little bit lighter, but still, kind of helping run and making sure people are showing up and that sort of thing. And the I reverted back to some of my lessons of learning. You can see the top of my head here. I ran into
oh
a,
gosh,
a
yeah,
garage,
that was bad.
cut my head in the garage when you got back. But I did learn a lesson over at Primrose. I did a really good, I think I did a good job of demoing. I mean, I would say I got most of it out. There was a few like, hey, make sure you get this, that. But I had completely forgotten about the garage. And I just didn't think about the fact that the sheetrock guys would be coming in, doing their initial main sheetrock work in the house. I just didn't even think, okay, I need to have the garage 100% ready for them to do sheetrock. And so when you got back, you're like, hey, did you take down the shelves? Caesar and those guys came by, and did they get to do the garage? I'm like, oh man, no. So I went the next day, took down a few shelves. It took about 10 minutes, right? And then there was a stripping, like 1x2 stripping, 1x4 stripping on the ceiling. I thought it was like leftover from some shelving project. So I go to unscrew one of these things, and when the second screw came out, I'm talking literally half the garage ceiling fell on my head. It was the same just rotten, flimsy sheetrock that whoever did it originally didn't chose not to use many screws and didn't tape in bed
You
very
need to get
well.
you a hard hat.
I don't know, man. It just crashed down on me. I'm like, the heck,
You
man.
don't have any protection on your head.
And it
There's
went
not
from it
any
went
hair up
from
there.
hey, Caesar may have to come back for a little while just to do a little patchwork. And I already felt stupid because we had misplaced like a little handle over at Shady Hill. And there's just a lot of these little things were adding up. And I'm like, man, I kind of failed. Tavis came back and just like, where's this? Where's that? The blinds aren't working, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, okay, I'll go get this job knocked out. And then it went from this little touch up job to, okay, half the ceiling has to be replaced. So I felt pretty stupid, but
Yeah, I
it
and
is what
that's
it
one
is.
thing. I came back and I actually, so the trip was great, but second to last day I caught a upper respiratory issue, and so I started trying to muscle through that, feeling through that, and got back and felt rushed on just the timing, and was like, okay, I'm back and I need to do landscape. Well, based on the weather we've had, mm, when it wasn't feeling the best, but showing up to do the landscape and going to the nursery and trying to get everything laid out. And I kind of had my drawing laid out, but the inventory was terrible. And so I just wasn't feeling it that day, to be able to do that. But, one thing about me, and I think, and you probably sense this a little bit, is just that, I'm a solution based person. So like if you're giving me problems, okay, great. I understand. But what's the solution?
Yeah.
And that was the one thing that was like you were reporting to me a few things and it was like problem,
Yeah.
problem, 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 no solution, no solution, no
Yeah.
solution. I'm like, ah.
Yeah.
I think that was the day I was traveling back or whatever it was, and you could probably sense I was a little frustrated, but
Yeah.
it was just,
Well, and it's yeah,
and I know it's frustrating on your end too, because when things aren't going good and you don't feel like there's a solution, you know, it's like, oh man, I got to report this. And Tavis isn't going to
well,
be
and where
happy.
I
And
was at
like,
with some of the things like the blinds weren't working great, and
right,
then certain things, I had gotten to the point where like, okay, I don't want to break this. Like
yeah,
to me, it would be better like let me just wait till he gets back. He can see it in person, so I don't break it. And we have to reorder it, and it's two
yeah.
more weeks, like all that stuff.
Well,
With
and
your slot was
that's
like
smart.
like
Yeah,
in your mind you're kind of like I've done these before, just read the manual or call the people and I'm thinking like okay, I get where you're coming from, but I really need you to see this. So yeah, it was
yeah,
just a couple of those things, but the nice thing is you came and you walked. There was Shady Hill did make some pretty good progress while you're out.
yeah,
It's looking really really good. The one kink in it was the designers brought in literally 100 boxes worth of chairs and frames and pictures and vases that had been delivered weeks and weeks before to a construction zone and then had been stored and then brought back. They just dumped it in the middle of the house, and the painter called me one day. He's like, man, I can't be here, there's stuff everywhere. I'm like, no, you got to be there, I'll move it
yeah.
around. So yeah, anyway, but it's looking good. Primrose is ready for paint. We're looking for more properties. And I'll actually show you a quick glimpse of what I've been working on. I know you think this is kind of maybe wasted time, but I am trying. I'm trying
No,
to
you're
find you
good.
some
It's all
properties. But
good. But we will get over to Shady Hill this week and tag team the blinds and knock
yeah,
that
yeah,
out.
it's gonna
So
be a forehand job. I think it's like
we'll get it. We'll get it.
I'll hold the top and you can get the
Sometimes you gotta.
bottom and
That is one thing in this business is sometimes you just got to take a step back
yeah,
and you sleep on it or
yeah,
reset and regroup and kind of come at it with with
yeah.
a fresh start
Yeah,
and
because
kind
I
of
was about to throw some blinds through a window, and I knew that was not a great solution. But when we used to install
yeah, no.
blinds, my brother was I was the layout, unpackage guy, cleanup guy, and he would come in. And he was really good with the drill. He would just start. I would lay out all the hardware, everything, and then he would
Yeah.
come in behind me. He would drill in the stuff. I would come back behind and put the blinds up, and then clean up. It was just this whole system.
Have you called him or sent him pictures or anything when you're doing that? Be
I
like,
called him
hey,
once,
this
yeah,
is
and I
bring
said,
back
"Man,
memories.
I was about to throw a blind through the window because it was just one of those days where the screws kept falling off the magnetic piece, and the screws were too short, too long. Well, it was just the whole thing, but whatever. All right,
All right, let's roll.
let's get into a little bit of a market update. All right, so we're going to share. I can share my entire screen now, and let's see here. Perfect. Nice. Um,
Nice ice, baby.
so here's our market update. We look at the 10-year look back for Denton, Cullen, and Dallas counties because it'll only
Okay.
let me look at 3 counties at a time. Sorry, Tarrant.
Is
And
this what are
this
we
is
looking at? Is
average
this
days on
days on
market.
market? Oh
Average days
gosh.
on
So
market.
it's going
So
back up.
it is going back up. Our overall, we're at 69. We kind of, I thought it was going to maybe change a little bit, but yeah, it's up there. And we're actually for the entire market way back here. We in
Is that
2020 we were at
19? Yeah.
2020 we were at 64. 19 we were at 62. 17 we're at 53. Way back here, let's see.
Mm.
In 15 we were at 69, and today we're at 60. So 10 years. So if we go up one more, we'll be at a 10-year high. So
Wow.
yeah, things are lingering, unfortunately. Now, I'm sure different pockets are different, but I will say this. I did an open house yesterday at a townhome around the corner. It had been on the market 80 days, and I didn't know that when I took the open house. I just saw that it was in Carrollton. I was like, yeah, I'll take
Mm-hmm.
it. Then I
Yeah.
realized it was around the corner. I'm like, okay, great. It's Hebron. I'm going to leave my signs out a little bit extra long, just kind of get some, a little bit of publicity. And then I saw it. I was like, oh man, it's been on the market 80 days. Like no one will be there.
Yeah.
And then I had a really good open house. I had 4 groups show up. None of them were represented. And I gave
Amazing.
my email, I got their email. Several of them gave me their email and phone number. And so, yeah, it was definitely probably the best open house I'd had in a year.
Well, and that's why you just don't know, right?
Yeah, you don't
Consistency
know.
in marketing is key, right? And just doing the same thing and just continuing doing it.
Yeah.
It's going to work out in the numbers, right?
Yeah.
Um,
But that was probably my 40th, really dang close to being my 40th open house in a let's call it in a row in a
yeah,
year.
yeah,
And by far it was my best one. So just doing
that's awesome.
40 strikeout, strikeout, strikeout,
That's not a
strikeout.
very good ratio, 1 in
It's not
40,
good.
but
It's not good. But that's why the people I got yesterday, I'm like, okay, this is an opportunity. Don't mess it up. Don't wait to get back to them. Get them their information. So we'll see. It may fall off, but I was really actually impressed with the volume of people coming through, and maybe there's this little window of time, nice weather, people getting out. I'm not really
yep.
sure, but
So we're at 4.1 months of supply
yeah, that's
for the entire
dipped a
MLS.
little bit. That's dipped a little bit.
Let's see,
4.1,
Denton
and
County.
let's look at new listings are going up because it's that time of year. That just happens every year, but we are hopping back up. New listings are at 14,000, and closed sales are down. But this is the trend here. We know this. So these are all normal annual things. The days on market is new, and then let's look at our overall houses for sale. So we had 44. We capped out at 44,000, which was basically a 10-year, matching at roughly a 10-year high, and then we've dipped in here, so that you can
So we
see this
dipped
over
with
here.
people taking stuff off the market, or the inventory going down then in the year, and then starting to pick back up here
Yeah,
after the
people
first
just
of the
not
year.
listing as much during Christmas and holidays, and then there were people out taking them off the market and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So let's look at our overall sales price. The average sales price is dipping some, so the entire MLS there was 400, and we're down at 365. So overall value, average sales price has dipped some from the 2022 era, and then it blipped a little bit more in 23, and now we're down. So a lot of people are saying that
Down.
if we feel like the rates do come down a little bit, that there will be people jumping into the market. The supply will be down, which means prices should go up. But you never know. You never know
We
on
don't
that.
know.
All
No
right,
crystal ball.
let's talk about a little bit of news. And what's nice about this setup is I don't have to go anywhere, and I just click on the news.
That's awesome.
So one of the big purchases downtown was the Dallas Morning News, old Dallas Morning News building, which is right next to the K. Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center. It sold a few years ago to a guy named Ray Washburn for $29 million. And I guess over the last few years, he and the city of Dallas have had this anticipated partnership in conjunction with the convention center that's having, I think, a $3 billion improvement plan put into place. So he bought the old Dallas Morning News building. He was going to make it mixed use and hotel and restaurants and all the things. It was going to be right next to the convention center. Well, this last week he said, you guys are taking too long. There's basically no communication with the city, and I am actually not going to develop it. I'm going to sell it to a data warehouse. like
Oh wow.
like the
Okay.
most boring, least
Like a
job,
like
producing.
a crypto mining factory.
I don't know, like a data center.
Wow.
And so anyway, I guess the city has said, oh wait, hold on, but maybe we can figure this out. And so um, and so I think someone said, I suggest your staff host at least a once a month session with the members to provide updates and seeks their thoughts. That might be from Eric Johnson. Um, I guess they're trying to work something out. The city may buy it from him. They may be able to work it into their plans, but that would kind of stink for them to put all this money into the convention center and have that whole corner of Dallas being revamped. And now a large part of that
you
is like,
got the
well,
a big paperweight sitting
yeah,
there.
maybe not. So when was the last time you were down at the convention center? I don't think they've started on the
It's been a
actual.
while.
Yeah,
It's
I
been a
went
while.
to
Probably
Meekum, but
last time that KW was, last time KW had a convention here.
Okay.
in Dallas, it's been a while. It's probably been 10 years.
It's been 10 years since you've been to the convention center?
No, well, yes.
Really?
The 10 years since I've been to the convention center in Dallas. Yeah.
Wow, I go once or twice a year, it
Do
seems
you
like.
really?
Yeah, I mean, well, there was a long period of time where we would go down there for volleyball. We had several volleyball tournaments down
Yeah.
there.
I've only been to the convention center once or twice. Like I said, that it was big.
Wow.
The KW annual, what they call family reunion, was there in Dallas,
Mm.
several years ago. So that was the last time I was there. Other than that, if we go downtown for any kind of event like that, it's like the boat show or something like that at Market Hall. I've been to
Mm.
Market Hall several times,
And
but
see, I've never been to Market Hall, but
okay,
I've been to so I went to the Dallas Safari Club, had their thing at K Bailey. That's a really cool event. I've been to Miko Auto Auctions probably 5 times, 6 times, and it's always down there at the convention center.
yeah,
And then we played volleyball down there a bunch. And I want to say I went to one other random event down there, maybe some sort of car event.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
cool.
we've been down there a bunch. It would be nice I mean, it's so cavernous.
Yeah,
It would be nice for it to have something
yeah. The
else.
best thing you
It's just
have
an
to it is
odd
just the
setup.
Omni tied to it.
Yeah, the Omni, and then
You
there's
know,
several restaurants that are right there. The problem with those is you're definitely paying kind of resort prices to be at the convention
sure.
center. And so it would be
Yeah,
nice if they had, I think they have a Starbucks, but it's always inundated with people. You can walk over to the Omni and go to the lobby, but I don't know. It definitely has some room for improvement.
yeah. It's definitely dated.
There's a creepy hall. Like one time I walked down, turned a corner. I'm like, man, feels like a lost mental hospital. That's the feel you got. It was just this really weird, creepy, like I feel like they may have run a mental hospital out of there
Oh
sometime.
gosh.
But anyway, so we'll click this story here. This is going to Austin, not us, but
Okay.
realtor.com, the behemoth in the online real estate world. They're actually relocating from Silicon Valley to Austin. So that's kind of cool.
Interesting.
We have, what's the one that's been sued several times? Real Trends, maybe. Real Trends, is that over in Richardson?
Okay. Yeah,
They've been
maybe.
sued a few times because they were price fixing, supposedly.
Yep.
But yeah, so we have a lot of real estate technology companies that are based here, but realtor.com relocating to Austin. Looks like this rendering looks like it's going to be downtown. Downtown Austin's like crazy. Every time I go there, I grew up around there and I don't recognize anything.
Yeah.
So speaking of coming to town, our friends to the west, just the suburb of Sweetwater.
Cousins. Yeah.
Yep. Just outside of Sweetwater is a town named Abilene. And I have a rental house. Well, it's not a rental house anymore. It's a house that used to be a rental over in Sweetwater. And so I've been over there several times. Well, Abilene made national news, and they are getting a $100 billion pledge, a development from OpenAI and Oracle and several of these companies. They're opening up $100 billion warehouse. I don't even know, for AI. They're gonna be, nothing says AI like Abilene in West Texas, and that's what the world is finally coming to know.
Well,
So yeah,
cost of land is cheap, and
I guess.
they can provide some jobs there, and probably entry point of employment is a lot more economical than
Yeah,
anything in the Dallas area.
I haven't seen. I was reading this article and I couldn't find anywhere. I read several articles. I couldn't find where they thought what it meant for the economy, like how many jobs, or except for the initiative could bring significant developments to the local economy. Oh, well, thank you for that. I don't know exactly where it's going to be, but you
Yeah.
would have to think that it's going to be a big. Now, randomly, we don't talk a lot about Louisiana news here, but where we lived over in Louisiana, Monroe, it is getting, I think, much smaller, but I think $100 million investment from Facebook outside of Monroe, which
Wow.
is the same thing. It's like really cheap land, cheap, cheap employment and that sort of thing. So yeah, I was listening to this national podcast for real estate, and they mentioned Monroe, Louisiana, as being one of the top markets for midterm rentals this year. I was like, what in the world?
Wow.
Who have you been there? And but evidently Facebook is going in, and there's this kind of this vacuum of rentals over in that area. So
Wow.
good for I've got some friends over there. I hope they get to take advantage of that, build a little bit of a rental portfolio over there.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. Oh,
Oh
if you
gosh.
need snacks, if you live in Frisco, and today during the Super Bowl, you're like, you know what? We need some Doritos. We need
What
some
in the world?
sugar-free Pepsi. Evidently, you can order a drone and they will drop off your food to your
Wow.
house. Pretty cool. Their team PepsiCo is teaming up with Wing, which is part of a Google subsidiary, and you can during the Super Bowl you can order up some snacks. I guess it's kind of like a limited menu.
Hmm.
One of their logic here is great. We also know Texas is a football loving state, so the area makes perfect sense. I don't know what that has to do with like let's throw
That's
drones out. Like the more Texans watch the Super Bowl. Like what? But
Weird.
anyway, yeah, you can order Doritos, Tostito dips, and Pepsi Zero Sugar. Surely
Okay.
there's more, but I guess maybe they're just trying to advertise certain things. I don't know,
Okay.
but I don't know what the surcharge for.
And what
a
do they do?
drone.
Just drop it, and then
Is there a
the drone
parachute?
just comes to your doorstep and drops it. What if the Pepsi explodes, or is it soft
Maybe it
landed?
gets really
Does it
close
have
to
a
the.
parachute?
Maybe it gets close to the. Maybe they use the same route Santa Claus does. Just drop it right down the chimney. That'd be pretty good. Those chimneys don't get a workout, but once a
Yeah.
year. So maybe
Don't
this is
don't
their
mind
thing.
don't mind the chimney caps.
Yeah,
That's why the chimney cap's been removed, because
for Santa.
Claus had to get that. Yeah.
Yeah, he messed up that chimney cap over there at Primrose.
Yeah.
They fixed that the other day. Yeah, so that's kind of a cool. You can order a drone, get some snacks.
Like it.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about a few houses. I did want to bring this up because I had already pulled it up. Well, I'll bring it up here in a second. Matrix. So in the news here, do you know Derrick Henry, the running back Derrick Henry for the Baltimore Ravens?
Okay.
He went to Alabama. I don't know where he went to high school, but I guess some of his training partners and his training facilities are in Dallas. He's got a family, and I guess he came here and he went to the restaurants, and he's like, man, I like this place. And he bought a house a couple years ago. I guess he had put it up on the market a couple years ago, and or maybe last year it didn't sell. I think he put it up for 1.8, didn't sell, took it off. Now it's back up on the market for 1.6 million. So I believe it is a secondary home because he actually lives in Baltimore. That's where they play. But I was able to find this house. So let's check out Derrick Henry, the famous NFL running back, what his second home looks like. And I think it's pretty neat. This is a modern home down in Dallas, 1.6 million. And to me, this feels like this should cost more. I don't know exactly where this is, but
yeah,
it's got the modern open stairs. When you order stairs like this, have you ever done stairs like this? The open treads.
I have not.
Is this a kit or something, or is this custom made? How do they do that?
You can order the treads like that. I mean, usually it involves a steel guy, to develop the spine and the backbone and
a welder.
Yeah,
I can weld, but heaven forbid me try to do something like that. I would be so nervous. I'd go bolt it in place and be like, I don't know if
they gained popularity. The open treads like that were really popular in the 70s.
Okay.
And into the 80s of contemporary building, but now have made its way back. In fact, that was originally what Aaron wanted, right? When we were going to leave the staircase where it was, that was his idea. It was like, hey, let's
Mm,
walk in and let's just do an open staircase with a big open spine, and you can see through it.
yeah.
But again, it didn't make a lot of sense to leave the staircase where it was.
Yeah.
So
Well, and from a design perspective on y'all kind of leaned in a little bit more to the Tudor and not as much
exactly,
modern.
we leaned into the architecture of the home, so it didn't make a lot of sense to
And I would have to imagine
go with
from a
the style.
material and cost standpoint, this has to be more expensive than just a traditional
Hmm.
stair setup because you've
Yeah,
got a
no,
lot
I
of
don't know
metal, a
if it
lot of
was.
glass.
You got to move numbers around based on the cost of framing. Obviously, with us reframing all that, reframing the ceiling.
Yeah.
Um,
You got a lot of
so
glass in here, but kind of cool.
yeah,
I mean, I do like the look. And
yeah,
having put up blinds this last week, I do notice they have nice roller shades here, which those are
there you
easy to
go.
install. Kudos to this guy for ordering a whole house of roller shades.
Yeah, Ashton's like, no, go with the roller shades.
Roller
Those were
shades, I'm all
easy.
for it. I'm all for it. Here's the front of the house. Look, kind of your traditional white
Yep.
box modern, but they went a little cream color. Um, I do like the staging of this house is excellent because
Yeah.
they we've seen some houses that just they do not a great job of really showing off the house, but this one, to me, like these bar
Yeah.
stools being
Pop a
kind of a
color
green
there.
color, and
Yeah.
you'll see another picture here where it really brings in the some green outside. But we've talked about this waterfall granite countertop. So if you have a waterfall counter, this is all one piece, and then they cut it
Yep.
and put it at 90 degrees and bevel it, and then they caulk along the side here. Is I guess is they
Yeah.
kind of
That's a
cement it
miter
together,
joint.
and
Yep.
yeah. But yeah, this is a different looking house. It's not really something that I could see you doing tomorrow, but it's very black and white and modern. But to me, the photography and the staging of this one is excellent. And outside they have the green. They've got some. They even staged the patio
Yep.
to where these pictures just make a lot of sense. The other question on the construction side is, for those
The
that you
linear
are not
vents.
seeing, but up on the ceiling they actually have these linear air conditioning return vents. I
And
assume
why
that
do they have
that's what
that
these are.
there versus they have the standard supplies over
They
on the
have some,
left.
yeah, they have the supplies, the
So
old
I
school
don't know what
supplies.
I
Then they
don't know
went with
why
this
they did
real
that.
streamlined modern. It
It's
looks like they may
interesting.
even have a couple of them. I'm not sure, but yeah, I guess this is a little bit higher end. The long
It
flush
is. Yeah.
returns.
A little bit more complicated to put in and planning of location and how the
Mm.
ductwork works because it does have uh, a connector on it, a neck, a connecting neck up above. So you've got to make sure you've got the spacing and allow for it.
Now the kitchen over here, you did this. May be the exact
And I
microwave
think
you
that is the
used.
same microwave. Yep.
So it's an under the counter microwave,
Yeah, it's
and
under the counter microwave drawer.
yeah, and so it has this little door that pops out. You have to put your finger in there, and it says open, and then it automatically opens this door. Well, I guess if once you do it once, you'll know forever and ever.
Yep.
But whenever your cabinet guy installed it the first time, the fat fingers of Tavis and Ashton could not open up the door to use the
Yeah,
microwave.
and I don't think that the directions gave you those specs to like give you a spacing at the top. So
Hmm.
now we know you need to have at least 3/4 inch of a gap between the top of the cabinet and
Yeah,
the top of the microwave.
it's neat. It's a flush. It's flush to the cabinet. This one looks like it might stick out a little bit from the
Yeah,
cabinets, but it's flush to the
they're
countertop. But
expensive. They're not
yeah,
cheap. But
it's a
my
neat thing.
fear of those have always been like a kid can come up and press it and pop it open and put a Matchbox car in there and explode the microwave. But knowing that it has that panel that's pretty much kid proof. It's very incognito. It's not easy to open.
Yeah,
Um, and it covers up all of the controls.
yeah.
So
I think it's a neat upgrade,
yeah,
and it looks super clean on the flat front um, cabinets that y'all put together. But so on these that are real like this matte black, this is some
yeah,
sort of base that's been. Didn't y'all used to do this laminate? It's kind of like a
yeah.
laminate
That's
front, or
most likely a laminate because
okay,
you to get that finish. Um, That's most likely a thermal bonded laminate
Okay,
that's on there.
but it's flat black. It's pretty cool, matte
Yeah,
black, pretty neat. Yeah, so we'll click through these, but I like this house. So Derrick Henry's moving out. I don't know where he's going to go. I think he said he is going to continue to have
this
a
was
house
his
here. But
house.
yeah, this is his house.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
nice.
I don't get the. I mean, I may be surprised. Maybe this is his furniture. I kind of think it's been professionally staged.
Where was
Everything
this
just
house?
goes.
Oh, it's in Dallas.
It's in
Okay,
Dallas. We'll look at the address.
got it.
I went back to make sure that this wasn't an Eric Crutchfield modern house. Look at that couch right there. I've never even thought of doing something like that. It's alternating black and white sections. It's a sectional couch, but it's like black, white, black, white. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I kudos to this person. We've made fun of several people staging, and this one I feel like is pretty good.
Yeah, it's a good. That looks like. Oh shoot, George Bass.
Yeah. I started following him. Yeah, he kind of has like a little bit more of a luxurious, kind of glamorous.
Looks like his
staging.
Work. I know he's expensive, and he does a great job. Like he really takes it up. Steps it up to where it's really thoughtful and kind of finishes everything. It's not a rush job by any means.
I will say I can tell they made the mistake that I made. the black tile in the shower, black grout. Like, oh my gosh, this looks beautiful. Then turns out whenever you use it, it calcifies, and good luck making that look good 6 months into using it.
You learn that the hard way.
I learned that the hard way. But the overall shower does look good, and I don't blame you guys. I had the same thought. It was supposed to look really great. Yeah. The tile in here actually kind of reminds me of Primrose, the kind of the bigger squares that you did kind of this gray version of this in a smaller scale. But yeah, it's a commitment to a look. I don't know if I love that, but it is a commitment. It's neat. It makes a statement. Very, very bold, black and white. Like they committed to the black and white thing all throughout the house. And it's, even if you decided to change in the future, you're going to have a hard time getting away from doing black and white everywhere, because it's pretty embedded into the theme of this house. But anyway, okay, let's look at one more that I found that is actually brand new to the market. Of course, that one's new too. University Terrace is where that one is. This one has been on for 8 days, and I just thought it was really beautiful. So 1901 Meadowview Court in Westlake. I'll link all of these in our show notes. But this is a huge house, but this one caught my eye again because of the dining room light. We've seen this now multiple times. Office, beautiful. The zebra veneer, the zebra wood veneer, really great.
Yeah.
Now here we go. The cable draping chandelier.
Ashton's gonna come home and change out his dining room chandelier.
I'm telling you, it's showing up everywhere. Yeah, they got that. Oh man, this is like, they've got that, and what else is over here? Wallpaper. They wallpapered the whole room.
Yeah.
My goodness. So I also really like this house and this staging, because this is a huge house, 9,000 or not 9,000 square feet. It's big. What is it? Oh, it is 9,000 square feet. Good Lord of mercy. But in the living room here, you could sit 30 people comfortably in a cushioned couch.
Yeah.
Look at all these couches.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There might be 8 couches and 2 love seats, and they're all cushy. They're at least they're not the real offensively just tight and uncomfortable seat. This is great.
Yeah.
I mean, this is to be lived in.
Yeah.
So kudos to them. And actually someone does live here. Look, they left the family pictures up over here. But yeah, kudos to them. It's right off the kitchen. Everyone hangs out. There's no TV right there. This is an interesting asymmetrical. This is an interesting design choice. This whole fireplace thing is kind of this asymmetrical artworky thing, and then they've got this odd piece of art over the fireplace. And
yeah,
I don't know if I picked that, but anyway, weird flowers too.
Hey, but, one thing we didn't bring up, and just want to pat you on the back. My nephew and his wife just had just had their first baby, and
Yes.
young professional
Gavin and
couple,
Elizabeth.
and they've
Little Gavin.
been looking for a place in Richardson, in a specific area with Plano ISD, and oh no, sorry, Richardson ISD, right?
Yep.
Or is it
Hmm.
Plano ISD? I can't
It's
remember.
Richardson,
Okay,
I think.
but very
Yep.
particular little pocket. It's kind of the uh, kind of northeast corner of
Hmm.
Richardson.
Yeah, right on the line where you could be in Garland or in Richardson, kind of
Yeah,
depending on which street you're
and
on.
you've been helping them look for something, and you guys have looked at a few things, bid on a few things, and ended up actually locking in one. So,
Yeah. And it's going
congrats
to be
on
a
that.
thank you. It's going to be a quick close, and they've done a great job of getting all their paperwork in. And we actually were able to get them a new roof out of the situation. And yeah, it's just turned out to be a really good, so far, a really good, smooth transaction. We were a little concerned about appraisal. It appraised, it's all gone very well. So I
Perfect.
appreciate the lead for sure. They've been great to work with, and great
Yeah.
clients that are fast to turn things in and respond and all that stuff. So for
Awesome.
sure. And so
I
you're
do
going to
like
go over there
this.
and do some paint consultation, but
Yeah,
um,
I do like this onyx backdrop here
yeah, I
with
was
the
going to ask you
lighting
about
going through
this.
it.
Well,
Yeah.
a couple of things about this picture. So this is picture 16, if you're playing later, but this is neat. Do you recognize this granite? I think, is this, have you used this recently? Is this the one
I don't know.
that
It
remnant piece
depends.
over at, I feel like this is
It's too far away to really
I
look
feel
at it
like
and
there's a
see what it
chance that
is.
this looks just like the remnant
The
piece you used in
the
one of the
blue
bathrooms at
fusion,
Shady Hill. Yeah.
blue
But
fusion maybe.
yeah, so how do they do this translucent onyx stuff? Is this acrylic, or is this just a
No,
super thin?
that's a natural stone. So onyx is a natural stone. In fact,
Mm,
the water fountain out in my front yard that you worked on when
I
I was out of
butchered.
town is
Yep.
actually an onyx rock. So,
Yeah, after I
um,
turn it over on its side, you're like, "Hey, by the way, don't turn it over on its side. It's pretty fragile." I'm like, "Okay, thanks."
yeah,
It
all
was a
good.
good
Hey, it
mistake though.
looks
It looks
cool.
better
That's got
now.
more character to it.
Yeah, it's got
Um,
character.
but no, so onyx is translucent. So in this case, it's either a 2 cm or 3 cm slab,
Mm,
and it's kind of been a trend lately. To me, my only concern is, and you've seen this trend kind of happening over the last couple of years, and they put basically LED, you know, uh, lights behind it, and
yeah.
and it's done in a tape and everything
Wh-
else. My
What
only
happens when
problem
they go
is,
out?
yeah, eventually one or two of those lights are going to go out, and then you're going to left with kind of a polka
Hmm.
dotted looking deal, or I don't know. To me, it's just it could be problematic if they could figure out a way that you could still access the lights at a later point. I think that would be ideal, but
Yeah.
that's my only concern. I mean, and this trend has happened for a while in like bars and
Yeah, I
stuff
was gonna
like
say
that.
this is a very hotel slash bar look that's
Yeah,
sort of made its way
it
into
is cool. I
home.
mean, it is definitely a different look than just having the LED lights and the shelves, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's a cool look for sure.
yeah. I would be
And you know what?
interested
One thing
to do that on a
I
small
wanted to
scale.
bring up too is just, and I'm starting to see this trend more. You know, in one of our very first podcasts, we were talking about like, what do we do with these old wet bars in these '70s houses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about turning it into more of an idea of like a coffee bar and a wine bar versus or removing the sink and making it more of a dry bar. But I'm seeing this trend now, and even in fact in a couple of our projects where we're actually making them back into like a significant bar,
Yeah.
but it's like a lounge area now. Like it
Mm.
actually has a purpose where it can be fully functional uh, as a hangout area, and obviously you serve coffee, cappuccino, wine,
Yeah.
spirits, whatever you want. But it actually has some function to it now, and that's actually one of the nice things. Like with Primrose, for the price point, kind of taking an old '70s concept and just improving on that concept and it flowing into the formal living and the dining area having that option right now, I think is going to be cool, especially
Yeah.
hopefully the stagers, grasp on to what to do in that area,
Yeah.
to show it off. But
Yeah. No, I think you've given them a nice kind of backdrop to do all that. And yeah, I think it's going to turn out great. Well, I'm clicking through these. This house is amazing.
yeah,
We
it really
look at
is.
some houses that I'm like, no thanks, but this is super
That's
well
put
done,
together
super
really
well
well.
put together.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, who can
look at that
complain that
half
this
court.
is just?
Yeah,
It's not too over the top gaudy. It's very livable. Looks like they've utilized their space. They don't have just cavernous areas. There are a lot of them, or you can even tell just from the exterior. There's just a lot of nooks and crannies of this house, and like some nice private areas, and just really, really well done. So kudos to whoever did this one at 1901 Meadowview Court.
I
All right.
apologize with my dog barking. Chip is
That's
on
okay.
a rampage this morning.
That's okay.
I don't know what he's barking at. But
So, yeah, that will be the episode for today. We posted our last episode on YouTube, and I will get this one up as well, so you can kind of see the visuals that we're doing. And if that's a better way for you to tune in, we would love to have you over there. Of course, follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And if you haven't yet, like and subscribe on Spotify or Apple Music. I know me personally, I'm looking for Google reviews to try to get my real estate business. So if you wouldn't mind, do you have a Google profile where you get reviews and that sort of thing?
I don't know.
We need to look at that, because
yeah.
I've got mine, and I've got 13, which is nothing. It's not nothing, and it's not great, but
I think I have a Tavis Westbrook Designs.
maybe. Okay.
Possibly.
I'll try to find a
I don't
link
know.
that. But if you're a listener and you appreciate what we're doing, one of the things you could help me out personally is find me on Google, give me a review, even if it just has to do about the podcast, of like, hey, appreciate his knowledge of the real estate business, stuff like that. Google pays attention to all that. I've really been trying to up my game over there so I can get some nice traction. And then whenever I have someone at an open house that I meet, they go look me up. I look legit. So I would appreciate any effort towards that. That would be amazing. Until next time, I hope you have a great day.
Thanks for listening, guys.